You're listening to From the Horse's Mouth, intrepid conversations with Phil Fersht. Ready to meet the disruptors who are guiding us to the new great utopia by reshaping our world and pushing past corporate spin for honest conversations about the future impact of current and emerging technologies? Tune in now.
Welcome to the latest edition of From the Horse's Mouth. I'm Phil Fersht, and joining me today is Suresh Sundararajan, who's the CEO and co-founder of a company called Mindsprint, who you may have been hearing about in the industry. But why don't you, Suresh, why don't you tell us a bit about the story? Because it's a fascinating evolution in our industry.
Thanks for having me on your podcast. Before talking about Mindsprint, I'll just give a bit of an introduction of where Mindsprint comes from. I'm part of a group called Olam, which is based out of Singapore. It's a publicly traded company in Singapore. It's one of the world's largest supply chain manager of agricultural commodities, right from cocoa to coffee to cotton to grains to spices to nuts. And I've been with this group for 30 years. About 4 years back, Olam embarked on a corporate restructuring where we were breaking the multiple businesses into two distinct groups to unlock value for shareholders. At that point in time, we had an opportunity to carve out and set up our captive technology and business services into a separate independent company. And that is what we call as Mindsprint. So Mindsprint is nothing but what was the captive technology and chat services provider for the Olam group. It was rebranded, rechristened as Mindsprint in 2022 as part of our efforts to branch out of Olam and build an independent tech services business like many other players who have done it similarly over the last several years, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first well-known version of this was, I think, WNS. WNS came out of British Airways as call center. Then we had Genpact was General Electric GE's finance and accounting division. So it's interesting to hear about how Mindsprint is evolving. So what is the game plan in terms of differentiating yourself in the market? Why should clients be excited to work with you guys?
Yeah, a few things I would say. First of all, I also want to add that the reason why, we had two options. We could have broken the captive technology team and given to the two business groups and be done away with it. Or we could carve out and set this up as an independent company. We chose the later because the underlying DNA of Olam is an entrepreneurial spirit of how you can unlock opportunities and create value out of everything that you get in your side. So Olam being very entrepreneurial, we chose the later path of setting up Mindsprint as an independent company. And when I took on this job of developing Mindsprint on its own independent journey to meet our objectives, I was a bit skeptical, frankly, to say what would a small company of Mindsprint size would be able to do in a very fiercely contested space where there are behemoths, multi-billion dollar companies, very deeply entrenched in terms of competing on cost and capabilities. What can we offer? I think for me, a few things stood out. The first thing is, as technology is rapidly changing, that change itself gives an opportunity for new and small players to be more adaptive and differentiate compared to larger companies. I believe large companies will take a long time to change, like a large ship taking a large radius to turn. A small boat could do that much faster. So that gives me an even level playing field. If Mindsprint is able to differentiate and bring out offerings that are superior compared to the large players, we have a good chance to grow this business. The second part of it, the smallness of Mindsprint allows me to be more agile and responsive to the needs of customers in trying to work with them to get their outcomes. And I've often seen in the tech space, there is dearth for a combination of world-class consulting combined with world-class execution in delivering the transformation programs to customers. So we are trying to do in Mindsprint, how do we bring this consultative approach where we try to challenge the problem statement of the customers and back it with world-class execution? So Mindsprint is small in terms of the size, but yet it has a backing of a large group of Olam, and Mindsprint has singularly helped scale up Olam from nothing to be a 50 billion giant. So that reflects the compounding capabilities and experiences that we have been able to build that we can offer to the customers.
So you're talking a lot about having an AI first approach with Mindsprint, but what do you mean by this? I mean, you talk about it disrupting our industry, but what's really happening? I mean, there's no actual data to show that AI is replacing jobs at the moment. So why is it disrupting so much in your opinion?
This change that we are seeing in technology, like, at every few decades, we have a wave of tech disruption facing us. But what we are witnessing now is probably singularly disrupting the tech industry itself. Most of the tech
Right.
changes we have seen in the past has helped companies in many industries transform to offer their products and services. But this change that we are seeing is actually impacting the tech industry the most. So for me, when I mean AI first, if I'm going to have a conversation with a potential customer of how I can embed AI in offering our services, to be able to instill confidence in the customer, I should be able to prove that Mindsprint is AI first. So for me, when I say AI first, it is how Mindsprint does things internally in terms of how we function as an organization, and then how Mindsprint brings AI capabilities to customers. These are the two ways that
Right.
I would measure. If there is no way I can demonstrate to my customers that Mindsprint is using AI in daily functioning, there is no way I would be able to convince a customer that we are an AI first company. And one small
Right.
example for that is, I wanted to make sure at least there is a base level literacy for each of the employees in Mindsprint. So I made it a point to undergo a 4 hours certification program online myself on a weekend, and mandated every single of the 3,200 employees to go through that programs. Of course, I could not hit 100%, but 95% of Mindsprint employees got trained on that. And we have then secondly published 22 tools for all the employees internally to use AI. Doesn't matter they are in finance function or HR function, or they're a software engineer coding, everybody has to embrace, embed, and use some part of AI. I think for me, that is being AI first. The second part is in every single service that we are offering, whether it is a digital platform engineering or it's advanced data analytics, how we are bringing AI when we offer these solutions to customers. That's how I would define as being an AI first company.
What are the challenges and what are the opportunities that you're seeing as you're trying to train your own staff on this? I mean, maybe talk a bit about the challenges first. Do you feel this is like natural for a lot of your team to adopt, or quite challenging
That's a
for you?
huge, it's a big challenge. I think it's not easy because, like any other change, people are very skeptical about the impact of AI. On the other extreme, people want 100% solution to be delivered by an AI. Even that's not going to be possible. So these two creates a lot of issues in change management. For example, I question somebody, why are not using a specific AI tool, say, for example, creating a PowerPoint presentation or creating a podcast or creating a video? Somebody comes and tells me, oh, that is not foolproof. I have to do a lot of work. But my response is, of course, it's not going to be 100%. You have to use AI as an amplifier. So for us at every single level, it is about educating of how we have to change to survive in the long run. That if
Right.
my teams don't change, then we can't survive as a company. And that is the sense of urgency I'm trying to instill by personally demonstrating wherever I could use AI and show to people, challenge them. If I can do, why can't you? And I'm saying if I can do, because I'm not a technology person. I'm leading a technology company, but my background is finance, right? Like today, I created a survey using AI on Microsoft Forms to be sent to 10 people in my team to solicit feedback on some things I'm doing. Before, I would have never done this. AI made it possible for me to create a survey in 10 minutes flat, right? And this is a real vindication of the possibilities that AI can do for people across levels. So I think it's constantly creating a sense of urgency, creating training programs that are relevant for people to upskill, measuring the maturity of AI periodically, that how every employee is onto this embracing AI, all will over a period of time, I believe, will increase the maturity of AI of an organization, and specifically Mindsprint.
So as staff get more productive and faster and slicker using AI to do things, do you think that they're going to use the additional time that they're freeing up to do other things, or are you worried that they might just start working less? I'll just like throw that one out there.
I think that's the existential challenge that we have as human beings. And it's not only for employees of my company, I think for everyone in every industry. If we are successful in adapting AI in the right way, what does it do? It releases our bandwidth significantly. If it releases our bandwidth, what will you do? Are we equipped to think? Are we equipped to go back to our innate capabilities of innovation, or will we struggle? Because the last 2-3 decades of corporate existence has been in meetings and emails and all that stuff, right? Seldom you will find blocks of calendars free where somebody is sitting and thinking. So the challenge is, how do you encourage people to invest more time in being innovative? And that's not only for tech employees. I think that's going to be a universal challenge. And I feel one of the reasons why employees are resistant to adapt AI is the sudden vacuum that will be created in terms of the time that is released. How will you spend? How will you justify your existence, right? And that's going to be an existential question. I think collectively, we have to believe that AI will help us to amplify the human potential. So we have to go back to spending time thinking about solving problems with the help of technology. And that's going to be a challenge. It's not an easy one.
So what sort of skill sets do you think we're going to start to look at as we become AI first? Is it that the way we do jobs are changing now? So you don't need 5 people working on your general ledger, for example, or 10 people working on accounts payable, when things can be done faster and slicker. Do we start to broaden jobs out so people start doing new activities, do you think? Or we're just going to do more with less?
I think it'll largely be, in my opinion, more with less, where you have workforce managing agents or AI-related work in executing what they were doing with a lot more people. For example, if you want to talk about software engineers, if Claude is a great tool to work with, instead of having 20 engineers on a project to develop something, you'll probably have 2 very good engineers managing that with Claude, right? So that's where amplification comes. So the pyramid will change in some way, which would mean that you have to upskill and reskill people to do something else, because the core stuff can be done with far less people in many ways more effectively than before.
So you need people then, I think, who are naturally motivated and curious, who like trying new things. My fear is certain people who just like to do the same task the same way their entire career, and suddenly you don't need them to do that task with nearly as much intensity. They've got to start to diversify and learn how to use these tools to help their jobs. So I think you're absolutely right with driving your own team to use these tools most effectively. So how is this impacting your overall business? Is this like, I noticed you've opened an office in Australia, you're trying to expand geographically. How do you see this evolving in the next 2 to 3 years?
I think for a small player, Phil, it's actually so far been encouraging for us. From the time we embarked this journey of going down the path of expanding our customer base outside of Olam, I'm very glad to say we have 45 logos that we have added on in the last 1.5 years. And that's for me a good list of logos. Companies from 1 billion to 20 billion in size, companies from North America, from Middle East, from Australia, New Zealand, and Asia Pacific. And that shows that what we have to offer resonates with customers, where in instances where we are demonstrating that for a particular use case or a project, the way we pitch for a proposal demonstrates that we are bringing AI into play, which the customers can feel and see in terms of the cost of a project or the time that it takes to deliver a project, helps us to win those projects. And we have won these projects purely on those merits. And that's a very encouraging response where probably our customers believe that Mindsprint could deliver their projects with AI, and they can reap the benefits of that in terms of faster time for execution and lower cost.
Right.
So 45 logos for is a big deal. And so we're able to win that.
And how's this changing you as a services firm? Like, are you still pricing in the old way here? This is an engineer, you're going to spend this amount per hour or per week or per year? Or are you actually starting to think about selling services differently as AI infuses so much more of these activities?
I think, Phil, that's a gradual journey. For example, our classic BPO offering has been rechristened as intelligent enterprise operations because we want to move into an outcome-based pricing and not FTE-based pricing. To that effect, we have launched 2 offerings in the market: Sprint AP, which is simply a procure-to-pay solution, and Procure Sprint, which is a procurement solution, something that allows companies to manage procurement in terms of supplier management, category management, and everything else. Now, both these are agentic AI platforms. So, for example, in Sprint AP, I can have a discussion with the customer like, I will charge you 70 cents per invoice. It doesn't matter how many people I have. In the past, it used to be, I will have 20 people to process 500,000 invoices, so your cost is going to be like this. So we could really offer an outcome-based pricing for procure to pay using an agentic AI. Same thing is for Procure Sprint. So we are trying to convert some of these offerings into outcome-based. We are yet to progress and mature further on classic services like SAP to move into an outcome-based pricing. But we are developing a game plan of how we can talk about outcome in all the offerings rather than talking about a time and material or an FTE-based pricing.
Right. So it's really selling services as if it's software, right? You're selling the consumability and the impact of what you're doing for clients versus just them paying for labor, right? So it's how do you do that and how do you price it? And I guess experience tells. So how many of these new logos do you feel are moving towards that model, or do you feel you start with the traditional model and you try and evolve them to the outcome model?
I would say a small part of these customers are already in that model, but the rest of the companies are more like we want to first work with them in the way that they are comfortable, but still talk about outcome and see how we can develop our new offerings with them, which are outcome based. So I think it's a gradual journey for us, but in all our discussions on any projects or proposals that we have, outcome is a central theme that we are discussing, which is a significant shift from the past. So whatever be the project, even if it is a data analytic project, if it's a digital platform engineering, there is a discussion on outcome, right? And in some cases, we are bold enough to say that we will put fees at risk, which are tied to outcome. And that really changes the game. I would say in the next couple of years, that would be more prevalent, more seen in many things that we do in terms of how we can bring in outcome-based pricing. But to ends with the other thing that you said, service as a software, as you have coined. What we are doing is we have realized that just peddling services is not relevant in today's context, right? Not just because everybody's talking about AI, because people want outcome, which will be a combination of services and pre-built accelerators and solutions that you can give. So we are well positioned to do that because coming off of our Olam legacy, we already own a lot of IPs and we have built a lot of accelerators, and we want to build more such things for the industries that we are focusing on, which is food, agriculture, retail, CPG, manufacturing, and life sciences. So we could have a jumpstart discussions with customers. Oh, this is the problem we're addressing. We have this pre-built accelerator. The solution could fit in with some tweaks, and that's how we could go. And I think that very well syncs with what you are calling as service as a software, right? So in fact, we have team within Mindsprint called as a Future Forward Lab. There it's all about, like a startup team of engineers and product specialists and UI, UX designers working to create these pre-built solutions and platforms that could be deployed faster for our customers in those select industries.
It's interesting. So being based in Singapore, headquartered there, you obviously do a lot of business outside of the US. How is the current tariff situation impacting the flow of business and the conversations that you're having with clients, Suresh?
Phil, for us, I've not yet seen the impact of tariff biting our business in any way because I think we're very small, and wherever we are making an entry, it is using that differentiation tip of the spear, if I can call that. Mindsprint has something very different on advanced data analytics, on digital platform engineering, on SAP Rise or procurement. So the discussions are going on, and we have been able to unlock the tech budgets from our customers, and we've been able to support them. But I should say, when I started this journey, I was thinking North America will be the single most and by far the only market for us. That has changed a bit in the sense that we are getting a lot of traction from Middle East and Asia Pacific. So much so, in the original plan, I did not envisage building a team of sales and marketing professionals in this part of the region, but now I have almost half of my team in Middle East and Asia Pacific. So a lot of companies in Asia Pacific, which are on the transition into cloud modernization, data modernization, SAP modernization, that gives us good opportunities as a Singapore-based company. But US continues to be a big focus market. So far, I don't think I've seen a significant impact of tariff on what we've been able to convert.
I think everything you've spoken about, Suresh, are the benefits of being a sort of more agile, nimble, smaller player in the market, because I think a lot of the big shops and services they're really struggling right now to adapt. But I think you seem to be benefiting from your size, and it sounds like the culture you have, and you have an engineering culture within the company. So last question then, based on everything that you've been experiencing, what advice would you give to leaders, other leaders looking to incorporate AI into their organizations? What have you learned most in the last couple of years?
Now, I would split this into two parts, Phil. I think an advice to tech companies, this is cannibalism at its peak. If we ignore the Kodak moment for tech companies, and then tech companies will die, because this, as I said earlier, has the most profound impact on tech companies first and then industries that we are serving. So any tech company leader should really understand that and make it very clear that AI first agenda is the only way to not grow, but to survive and grow. For non-tech companies, it's about recognizing that AI is going to be a significant factor that will change the way organizations are structured and are manned. The role of tech through AI is going to change, for example, the org structures where you will not need, as we discussed, so many people doing tasks. So if you do a 5-year and 10 years forward projections of what org structures could look like, it will be very different. So how today's leaders can look at an AI-led company in the respective industries be. And that's going to be very different. Like you said, people should be equipped to think more than work more, because you don't need so many people to work more. The work will be done by something else. So this is related to, in some ways, the tech maturity of the organization and taking that leap of faith of how will they be prepared for changes that's going to happen in 5 years and 10 years time frame. In many ways, similar to the digital disruption era, where people were sitting quiet before startups came and ate their lunch. Now, in this case, it's about really how you can offer your products and services in very different ways, enabling AI. There are two dimensions that the technology will impact these companies in any industry. One is by unleashing significant productivity benefits. So you don't need so many people to do many things. Many corporate functions will change the way they work. Finance, marketing, HR, sales. They can just completely be automated in many ways. So that's productivity. The second way in which, the important way in which it will make a difference is for a CEO to think, how will the current AI technology or emerging technologies will help them to offer new products and new services that they otherwise could not do in the past. And that, I think, nobody is thinking. Today, because of LLMs, everybody's talking about productivity. I can create a PowerPoint, I can create a video, I can build these agents. But I think at top of the pyramid, it's about even offering services and products in a very different way that we're not able to think today.
Well, thinking of that, I've really enjoyed hearing thoughtful approach to how you're approaching AI, how you're developing it within the organization, and you've articulated so well many of the things you're doing. And I'm getting so many questions from the media and the press about why are the mid-caps growing so much faster and all this sort of stuff. And then, you get down to the smaller scale organizations. I really believe in a couple of years, we're going to have many more services firms emerging who are much smaller in scale and size, because clients want to work with specialists, companies who are very focused in, like I was talking to one services firm the other day, which just does Databricks services. And they're growing at 30% a year. They're like 60 million in revenue. There's another one which is just doing S4HANA implementations and that sort of thing. So I really do think we're moving into a broader market with a lot of opportunity, and we're going to see a lot of small businesses appearing all over the place because we're in an industry of intimacy and real need. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much for your time today, Suresh. It's been great hearing from you, and look forward to sharing this with our network.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you for hosting on your podcast. Lovely to have this chat, and looking forward to meeting you soon.
Yeah, absolutely terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to From the Horse's Mouth, Intrepid Conversations with Phil Fersht. Remember to follow Phil on LinkedIn and subscribe and like on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite platform for no-nonsense takes on the intricate dance between technology, business, and ideological systems. Got something to add to the discussion? Let's have it. Drop us a line at fromthehorsesmouth@hfsresearch.com or connect with Phil on LinkedIn.